everyone, and welcome to the Calamel March 2021 sub box kit class. That is such a mouthful. Anyway, what I'm going to do first of all is just take you through the book, and then I'm going to take you through the kit, and we'll start going on. Got to say about this book that it's probably the easiest one that we've ever made, and that's a little shaming in some ways, because I just feel like once you see how this is made, it's going to shock you. Having said that, it's a binding system that you can use in 1,000,001 ways with 1,000,001 different books, and you'll see I use it quite a lot. It's as old as the hills, probably even older than me, which is saying something, but it does a trick when you're trying to, you know, attach weird little things together. So here's our book. It's what we call a paper bag book because it's made out of paper bags. Who knew? So on the front cover, what we've got is our wonderful, wonderful papers. If you're having a kit, it's the AB Studio Glitter Stories paper. I'm going to show you how to make these little flowers that I've got on there. I've got some of the sequins that I think you can just see glistening there that are in your kit. I've also popped you in some little pearly bits as well that went really nicely that I found that certainly would be great on the front of your book if you want to use them. We've got a lovely charm from Mel at Safi Mel. You've got one of 4 colours. You've either got a pink sort of like sea glass drop, or a blue, or a green, or a white. They are all equally beautiful in my opinion. So the papers that I've used, I've just used one of the, you know, the girls' faces on the cover, and I'm thinking that actually when I come to decorate mine I might do it completely differently. The cover itself is, no surprise here, made out of chipboard, and then when you open it up inside, we've actually got our paper bags, which I will show you how to fold to get the pages or the way that I've done them, because there's lots of different ways to do paper bag books. I've just used the papers here just to decorate in. Same here. Our binding is simply pieces of card that I've folded in half, you know, like the connectors that we've used in the past maybe. It is so simple, but then we've got our little sort of tuck-ins here, you know, that actually are part of the paper bags, and I will show you how I've used those. I've added 2 paper bags together here to give me 2 spaces where I can put more photo mats, and then the same here. This particular bag I folded a little bit differently, so the pocket is at the bottom, and I'm going to show you how to do that so that our photo mats are just slotted, you know, in a very traditional way there. And once again, we've got some really gorgeous little charms. There's 2 in your kit from Mel with these beautiful little flowers on all sorts of different colours, but they all go so brilliantly well. Turning it over again, once again, it's the papers that just make this book, I think. But I've just cut lots of them up, and I've distressed edges, and really it's the simplest little book to make. It absolutely is. So there we go. That's a quick flick through of the book. So now if I show you what is in your kit, you have got the AB Studio Glitter Stories paper. You have got 5 paper bags which look just like this. These are just lunch paper bags that you can get from all over the place. They do come in different sizes, and I will say that when I come to make the book with you, I'm measuring the sizes that go with these bags. If you've got it's so easy to make that you can make to any size of bag that you've got, but just bear in mind that when I'm making, I'm using this size. You just have to measure your bags if you're, you know, if you're using your own, just to make sure that, you know, your sizes are the same. So we've got 5 paper bags. We've got a little packet here full of sequins and those little pearly bits that I told you about. We've got some twine here, and we've got these 3 gorgeous charms from Mel. And then we've got our paper pack here. And in our paper pack, what we've got, you might have 2, because I realised halfway through that actually I could pack them all into one bag, which was a little bit silly. But you've got some blue card, and this is what I made my photo mats out of. You've got a piece of grey board, which is what I've used for the covers. You've got some white card. You might not need this at all. That was just because that was what I did. Instead of actually putting photos in, I actually put, you know, examples of where photos would go using the white card. And then you've got a sheet of quite thick craft card as well, and that is what is going to form our connectors. And I've deliberately chosen craft because it goes near enough with our paper bags that it's not quite so noticeable, but you might like that look. Entirely up to you what you do. Okay, so what we need to do first of all is to get on with our covers, and we just need to cut those out. So I'm just going to grab my cutting mat, a pencil, a ruler and my knife to get started, and I'm just going to pop my measurements up there because I'm probably going to forget what they are. Okay, so the size of my cover is the size of a paper bag plus a little. Okay, so let me just measure that in. So it's going to be 8 1/4, which is English A4 size, so 8 1/4 across, and then I'm going to be cutting it 4 3/4 inches height wise. So let me just find my knife and let's cut this at 4 3/4. Now I'm obviously going to need 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back. We're about to be attacked by a cat. Okay, so I'm just going to cut my first one out. I find when I'm cutting chipboard that if I do it little and often, I don't put so much pressure on my wrists. Okay, so 4 3/4. Right, so the front and back cover is as simple as that. All I need to do now is decide what I'm going to cover them in. Now, you've got a lot of choice with these papers. There's so many really wonderful papers, but I will say that decorating it is quite tight. So don't think that you've got loads and loads and loads of paper to play with, because you haven't really. Right, so what am I going to put on my front cover? I wanted to do something a little bit different this time, but I might not actually, we'll see. So those are some of the cutter parts that I've used for the inside, so I'm going to put that to one side because I'll use that later. That was the piece that I used on my front cover. I used all of these tags inside my book as well, so I'm going to put those to one side. And actually now I remember why I used that one, but I think I'm going to use that just to do it completely differently. So right, I'm going to grab some double-sided tape and I'm going to do the same as I always do on any book cover. I'm just going to put double-sided tape along the front of my book like that. And the same on the other half. Okay. Oops. Right, where's that wonder? There. So I'm going to just place my cover so I've got enough space around it that I can fold it over. I'm just going to cut that down. Okay, so now all we've got to do is fold these over just to cover the front of the book. So I did have some scissors at one point this morning, but I've tidied up, which means I'll never find them again. Here we go, and I'm just going to mitre the corners. Okay, and now I'm just going to fold that round. I like to start with these edges first. It's just a personal thing. I can't tell you why. There's no particular reason why. I just do. So let's get a good sharp crease on there. I'm going to run out of glue in a minute as well. I should have brought some up with me. Okay, a little bit of glue. Fold that over. And the same on the other side here. Should give me a nice sharp edge to my book cover there. Right, so now I want to do the same on these bits. Do you know, I don't like crafting in quiet. I've usually got the radio on, or, you know, some music, or some dreadful serial killer film on or something. And it's just not natural. Oh, I've got cat noise now. That was Martha, I guess. She'll probably come and visit in a moment. Okay. Now here, what I probably should have done before I started was to cut all of these words off the bottom bits of the pages, because I've used those throughout the book as a bit of extra sort of interest. So do go through your paper before you start cutting them up and taking those bits off. Okay, a bit more glue. There we go. Okay, so that's going to be the front cover of my book, and now I just need to do the same to the back. So I'm going to find some paper that I don't mind cutting up. That's always the difficult bit. I think I used that on the back before. But you see this bit here, I'm just going to cut that out. Because on the back of it, you see the whole page is used. So actually, I'm just going to cut that bottom bit off. Okay, and here's my other piece of chipboard, grey board, depending on where you are in the world. I hope you noticed I've cleaned my mat for you this morning before we started. So it's all nice and clean now. Okay, and now fold the other bits in. Now there's lots of different ways to make paper bag books. Most of them tend to be folded, where you take the bag and fold it in half, and I'm contemplating actually doing that as part of one of our 6x6 Sunday classes, because I've got quite a few bags left over, to be honest. But I've decided to do it a little differently and keep the bags pretty much the same shape and size as they are. So it's got a bit more, you know, of a formal cover with the chipboard covers, rather than the soft back of the normal sort of paper bag book. It's actually really quick and easy. It's a great book to do with kids. Okay. Now I will warn you that this paper does have a tendency to crack a little bit, so do be careful with it. Okay, right, so that's my front and back covers done. Now, paper bags. You've got 5 in your kit, and we're going to fold them in a couple of different ways. So I've only found one. I did have 5 this morning. Now when we've got a paper bag like this, flat on one side and folded, because that's the way obviously that it opens out into a paper bag. So I want to use this bit that goes down here because I think that's quite useful for having a little tuck spot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tiniest little bit of glue just along that spot there, just to glue that down so that we've now got a tuck spot in there. And I'm going to do that on 4 of these bags. Okay, just on 4. And we'll come back to the 5th one in a minute. Now each of these bags is going to be back to back, so that is going to form one of our pages, which means that we've got these great little tuck spots in here and here where we can add our tags, but we've obviously got this bit here that flaps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick it together. Now you can stick it together and leave it open so that you've got another tuck spot, or you can just put the whole thing together. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to put mine together, but if you want to leave it open for a tuck, just do round those 3 edges, leave that completely free of glue. Okay, so now I'm going to lay that down on top of that bag like that. So what I've got now is a page that's got a tuck spot here. It's got somewhere for me to put a couple of photo mats there and there as well. I'm going to do the same on the other. Okay, so I've got my tuck spots back to back. Okay, right, now this bag is a little bit different. So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up, and we're going to cut along that line there. So I'm just going to take my... Well, that was great. Camera went off just at the wrong time. Okay, so we've got a paper bag that looked like that. I'm going to just fold that bit back, and I'm going to want you to cut that middle bit there. Just cut it all the way down to that fold there, and then cut up so that those bits are now free. Okay? So yours will have looked like this. And what I want you to do is cut all the way along there and then up and up, just on the one side. Okay, that's why I'm not going to do this again. So just on that one side there. All right, fold these bits down like that, and then you're going to fold them back on themselves like that. Okay, which is what's going to form your pocket. Then I just want you to glue those bits of pocket up like that. So that's now forming a pocket. And the same on this side. Like that. And then we're just going to glue those two bits together like that. Now you might want to use your bone folder just to make sure that you get as flat as possible. Okay, so what you've got now is you've got your two pages that are stuck together with these little pockets here, and you've got this one that's got the bottom little pockets here, and that one I put in the middle of mine like that. So these are the 3 pages of our book. But now what we need to do is pop them together. So if you grab your craft piece of card, what I did was I made connectors that are 2 inches across and 4 3/4 inches high. So they're going to fit the same height as that paper bag. So if you're using paper bags that are a different height, you're going to want to cut them at 2 inches times the height of your paper bag. Now I want 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. So 4 3/4 times 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think it's one more. 5, let me just check. 1, 2, 3, oh, just 4. Now I'm just going to grab my scoreboard, and all I'm going to do is score them right down the middle. So I'm scoring on the 2 inch side at 1 inch. Okay? Now this card in your kit is quite thick. So before we go any further, I would suggest that you fold and burnish it really well. So I'm just going to fold that in half like that, and I'm going to grab my bone folder, and I'm just going to make sure that I've got a nice sharp crease on it. happen with these is that each one of these is going to connect our page or cover to the next page. So it'll fit on there like that, and then our next page will fit on top of there like that, so that when it opens it connects. Now I think it's going to be easier probably to decorate up our pages and our connectors before we actually stick it all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a piece of pattern paper to cover the inside of my covers, and then I'm just going to decorate up and cover these with pattern paper and then these bits as well. So I'm going to come back to you in a minute when I've done that. Okay, so what I've got now are my two covers, and they are matted front and back. I have got my 3 pages. So this is the one that's got the pocket here and here. Then there's this one which has got the pocket that we pulled up. The one thing I didn't tell you was just to pop a little bead of glue along the bottom there, like like that, so that that page actually sticks together. Okay, so we've got that page with the pocket there front and back, and we've got this page that goes at the back. That's only not matted all the way through, because I only had a small piece of paper, but that doesn't matter. So they're matted, and then I've got my 4 connectors here as well, which I've also matted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my book together, and I am going to start with the front. So here's my front, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some glue onto one half of this connector, like that, and I'm going to glue it up to the edge of my book on the right hand side, because this is the side where the binding is, and I'm just going to attach it like that. So this is the front of my book, and then when I open it, this is the binding. Okay, so I've popped that on there. What I'm going to do now is put some glue on this side, and I'm going to add in my next page, which might just as well be this one. So it's going to go exactly on top. Make sure that lines up. Your paper bag will be pointing out a little bit on this side. That's fine. So now we've got our first page in. Okay, take your next binding strip, glue on one side, pop that binding strip on top there, make sure it's flush to the edge here, some glue on that bit, and add in your next page, which for me is the one with the bottom pocket. So let's just add that in there. Make sure it lines up with the other pages. Next binding strip, glue on that, add that in right to the edge, glue again on this side, and add our final page in. I don't think it really matters which way that one goes up. Okay, so you can see we're building up our pages here, but they all line up at the back there. So now to put on our back cover, last binding strip, some glue, attach that there like that. Glue here, and now we're going to attach the back cover, which will go on like that. So make sure that all lines up. And personally, what I do now is I'm going to get some clips, and I'm going to attach those onto there and leave it to dry. So let me just see what I've got down here. I've got some big clips here. I'm just going to attach that on whilst that dries. Okay, so I'm putting my book to one side. Now whilst that's drying, what I can do is I can get on and I can cut up my tags and fussy cut my ladies. I can cut up these bits of words that I've been keeping, and I can cut my blue card into the 11 photo mats. So I'm going to do that now. So if I grab my blue card, and I'm going to cut my photo mats each at 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches. So 6 1/4 by 4 1/4 inches. So they're just big enough to put a standard 6x4 photo on, and I'm going to want 11 of these. Oh no, 4 1/4. Don't throw your offcuts away, because we're going to be making some flowers out of those in a minute. Let's just see how many we've got there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That can't be right. 2, 4, 10. So I want one more. There we go. Now I'm going to cut up all of the tags. And I'm going to fussy cut all of my ladies. So I'll come back to you when I've done that. Okay, so I've got all my little tags cut out here, and what I'm going to do in a moment is just put a hole and then cut up my twine and pop that through on each of those. Now I haven't fussy cut my ladies yet because there's something that just occurred to me. There are certain elements on here that you might like to cut out as extras that we can just attach to various bits of our book. So for instance, this little bit of sort of ribbon flower here, I've cut that, well, on my other one I cut that out. These bits of flowers, they cut out too, and they just add nice little elements in. Even bits like, little bits like that, that you can cut out just to add a little bit of extra interest throughout your book. So where you see little, you know, little elements, little flowers, little hearts, do cut them out because they will come in quite useful in due course. I've cut out all of my words as well, and what I'm going to do with these and then all of these other bits is I'm actually going to distress the edges, and how I do that is this. So I cut my word to the size that I want, and then I'm going to take the edge of my scissors and I'm just going to rough it up with the scissors because it gives, I think, a really nice distressed edge. Now if you've got one of those great Tim Holtz tools, then by all means use that, but if you don't, then this is a great way to get exactly the same effect. So I'm just going to just rough that up, and now I've got a nice distressed edge on my word, and I'm going to do that on all of the others. Okay, and when I've cut out my ladies, I'll come back and we'll finish decorating up the book, and I'll show you some little tips that we can do to our tags to make them a little bit more interesting. Right, so I've fussy cut out all of my little ladies. I've got the bits left over here which I might go back to and take things off. I've got my words, I've put twine on all of my tags, I have got my photo mats cut out, and I've got my little sprinklies here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off and I'm going to decorate my front cover. Obviously it's entirely up to you how you do that. I just thought I'd do something different with this one to the last one. So I'm just going to distress the edges of my, well, I think she's an angel actually, she's got wings, if she's an angel or what she is. I'm just going to distress that just to give a bit of added texture to it. And I'm going to pop her there like that. So let's get some glue. And let's add her in there. I'm going to add one of these little phrases. Underneath there. And I'm going to add in some of these little sequins and right. Okay. Help if these are stuck the right way up. Okay, let's put some sequins in there. Just to add a bit of interest. Right. Now what I've done on the front of the other book as well is I've made some little blue flowers. Now what I will do in the tutorial is I will put in a link to a YouTube video where I make a whole bunch of paper flowers that you can use in your books, which is really helpful if you're wanting to make flowers to match your paper and say you haven't got any. So I'm just going to show you how I made those, because you might want to add these in, because I thought they went quite well with the kind of doodle effect. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a black pen and maybe a white pen. So the way that I do these is each flower is 3 layers of different sizes. So literally this is freehand and it's a mess, and don't worry about it because it'll all come good in the end. So I'm going to draw my big flower, and I'm literally just going to draw a flower shape like that, okay, which isn't even pretty. But I'm going to do another one now that's just slightly smaller, and one that is smaller again. Okay, these aren't pretty, they're not meant to be pretty. So now I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut round them. Okay, so there's one. Two. And 3. Now I'm going to use my black and my white pens to maybe do a little design on. So I could just do a few dots around the edges of the leaves. I think the less precious you are about getting it right, the nicer these are going to be. You draw lines in. Probably doubtful this white pen even works. Can't even get the lid off it. Let's try this one. If anybody can give me a tip for a really good white pen, I'd be most grateful. Okay, so I'm just adding some interest in there. And now what I want is an embossing tool, or you can use a pencil or a biro that's run out of ink, none of which I can find. Hang on, put my glasses on. Okay, I'm going to use the wrong end of my compass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this face down and I'm just going to rub to shape my petal. And I'm going to do that the same on each of the petals. Until I've got a flower that's shaped. Turn it over and rub in the middle. And now you can see that my flower is shaped, it's not flat anymore. Okay, so take the next one. Exactly the same again. Just rub on those petals until they curl, and then rub in the middle there. I'm going to put a little spot of glue in the middle of the flower and just pop that down on top there. And I've got my final one. Exactly the same again, just rubbing on the petals, just give them some shape. Bit of glue. And there I've got a doodle flower. You can't see this very well, I don't think it's not quite focusing. Hang on. There we go. So I've got that little, oh, if it stops shaking, I've got that little doodle flower there that's quite shaped, and then I can come and put it on my page wherever I want it to go. Okay, so you can see there that I've got my little flower. I can use my leftover pattern papers to make one, whatever, but I'm going to decorate the front of that. Now when we come to open the book, don't be surprised if it's stiff to start with. It will all calm down. And I'm going to use some of my girls. Just to decorate up. So I'm just going to distress the edges. Glue them down. I think it's nice to have a sentiment with them. And a few sequins because I want to keep this inside as flat as I can. Just with a little bit of sparkle. Okay. Ooh, one more there. Right, now I've got my photo mats. Now, photo mats that go in here, if you want to, just round the corners, and then you can take bits that you've got left over and make like pulls. Tabs, I think they're called actually. So to make my tab, I've just folded a piece of pattern paper that I've got left over in half. I'm going to round the corners on the folded edge. It'll teach me to use a blunt. Okay, so I've got my tab there, it's got the rounded edges. Add some glue. And I'm going to attach that in the middle of my photo mat, like that, on both sides. And that will then pop in there. And I can add in some of those little tags as well. I'm just going to work my way through the book now, and I'm just going to add in tags in each place. So I've got them that'll fit in here, in there, and so on. Now, the tags that actually go in between these pictures, in between these bags here, I'm going to show you how I did those, because I made quite an interesting little tab for these. So I'm just going to round the corners, if I can find my corner rounder. And what I did was I used a circle punch for this. So I'm just going to fold a piece of card in half, and I'm going to feed it into my circle punch in half, but I'm not going to feed it all the way up. So can you see just here I've still got a little bit of a gap? So when I punch out that circle, I've got two circles added together. So I'm just going to distress those edges. Pop some glue on. Add it into the centre of my photo mat like that, and then I can just slip this inside one of the paper bags. And the way that I did it was I had two on each of the first paper bag, one in this middle page, and then two in the back page. Okay, so you get the idea. Go away and enjoy putting your book together. Do some little flowers to go on the front cover. Make sure you've got plenty of sparkles going on, and then finally, don't forget, she says she's lost the clips. Crowning glory. So Mel's made these beautiful little clips for you. Sea glass ones, like I said at the beginning, are in 3 different colours, and you've got a whole selection of different colours in those clips as well, and then just put them wherever you like. So I like to have one hanging around on the front of my book, so I'm just going to pop that one on there, and then the others can just go inside, and I think you'll agree that they're just the most perfect finishing touch to your book. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed it. Like I said, it is the simplest book ever. Little bit ashamed of how easy that is, but I hope you've enjoyed the class, and I hope it makes you feel all interested in mixed media, because there's all sorts of mixed media bits that you could add to this as well. So do enjoy. Don't forget to put pictures in the group of your finished book, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks for joining me. Bye.